The Sports Source is brought to you by Fast Frame, with exciting Vol sports prints now available.
You are watching East Tennessee's first and only year-round sports talk show on television. This is The Sports Source with your host, John Pennington.
Good Sunday morning and welcome into the Sports Source. We are happy to have you with us. This show, of course, presented by Renewal by Andersen today, and we have tons of stuff going on. Lots of football. We got recruiting, coaching changes over on the UT campus. There's a fan approval poll of Butch Jones that might be surprising to you. We're going to do a UT history lesson. Cool stuff, a lot of talk. It's Sports Source Classic as we have the 4 original panelists back with us today. The rotation has it lined up. Everything's aligned properly for this good show. Let's start it. First segment brought to you by Renewal by Andersen. Spring and summer at the time to replace the windows in your home, and if you do so before the end of May, if you get them out there this week, you can get a free in-home consultation. First of all, if you decide to do it, you get $100 off every window in your home, plus a free big green egg. Only Renewal by Andersen can make that kind of a deal. Get in touch with them this week. They do fantastic work. Renewal by Andersen to replace your windows. Get yourself a free big green egg and $100 off every window in your home. Let me welcome in the first, well, not the first, I always say that because I'm used to fall where we have like 15 waves of guys. Today we just have one wave. Bob Hodge right there, sipping his McDonald's coffee. We'll ask you about that. Jimmy Himes, Mike Strange, Chuck Cavaleris. Thanks to everyone for being here. I wanted to start by taking a look at the over-unders for college football as set by CG Technologies. Those came out this week. CG Technology is the group that does the line for the Venetian and the Palms casinos out in Las Vegas. A few weeks ago on the Sports Source, we did our panel and we said, what is our over-under? And we all came back at 7.5, 7.5 wins. So did this group in Las Vegas, 7.5 wins. My question to you, do you think most fans are viewing this as a 7 or 8 win season?
No. I've actually had one friend of mine think that 9-3 would get Butch Jones fired.
Wow, 9 would get him fired.
And I said, then you might as well go ahead and pack his bags, Ma, and move him to Omaha because this isn't a team of destiny.
And they're not heading to the Field of Dreams.
And so I think the majority of fans will be okay with 8. I think there are some though that I think there's some that if he wins 10, they're not going to like him. So
right.
So I think the majority yes, but there's ones no.
I don't have any friends like Bob. The ones that I'm around are 8 to 9 wins. That's pretty much the expectation, which I think is reasonable, 8 to 9. But certainly I haven't heard anybody say 9 other than Bob's friend say that would get him fired.
What about? I've seen it on a couple of places, but it's usually people that are just rabble-rousers who are, if you don't win the championship this year, you got to go, that kind of stuff. What's the fan reaction? You think you deal with the callers on a daily basis? Do you think they are understanding that this is a step back kind of year with all the changes you got on the roster? No. 8 or 9 is higher than 7 or 8. Okay, you don't think the
no, because most of what and I'm talking regular season.
Yes,
not counting a bowl.
That's
but
right.
No, most of them are 8 or 9 every now and then. We hear 10 win. From the fans, and my concern is to take a step back. It's going to be hard to replace the production of your quarterback, your receiver, a running back, and a defensive end that were pretty darn good. But there are a lot of folks that think, look, he's recruited really well through the years. He's got more talent than he's ever had, which I don't necessarily agree with. So I'm hearing 8, 9, and every now and then a 10.
On paper, on defense, you have a lot of guys who are 4- and 5-star guys if they can stay healthy and if they play up to that level. Mike and Chuck, do you think most folks out there are ready for 7.5 wins, or do you think they're thinking higher?
Oh, I think they're thinking higher because they're thinking with their hearts instead of their brains, maybe. But 7.5 is exactly what I would have done in my mind, and I think the guys in Vegas are pretty sharp.
Yeah, and I was involved in helping him set the number.
I think
7.5. Pretty sharp. So I think most Tennessee fans are rounding up. I think most Tennessee fans are rounding up to 8.
Which means by August,
They'll round up to
They'll round up a little bit more.
and eventually 10 will get him fired.
and that happens everywhere. I mean, that does happen everywhere. The deeper you get into the off season, the more you start to get I've got a feeling. You always say, I've got a feeling.
And I also think people don't want to think about rebuilding in a year. Any year
Yeah.
is what I mean. Nobody wants to think this is a rebuilding year. Why should it be a rebuild? Alabama doesn't rebuild.
That's
you
the
know,
one.
Ohio State theoretically stays right there with Alabama. And I just think that nowadays most people don't want to hear, well, man, you graduated 6 NFL
Right.
draftees.
Right.
You graduated one of the best quarterbacks that's ever
The
came through the
production.
program. I just don't think people want to
Another
accept
thing that surprises me, John, you know, when fans look at it, how many fans seem to already be looking past Georgia Tech and counting that as an automatic win, and that could be a very tough game.
To me, that's the swing game.
yeah.
That's,
You know?
that's
Huge.
7 or 8 to me.
really,
if
that's
you
the
win it,
key.
it's 8. If you lose it, I think you're a 7-win team.
Yeah.
Let me go ahead and put up the numbers for all of the SEC. Now, I will say this, it's not all the SEC. CG Technologies laid out over-under lines for everyone but Vanderbilt, not on there. Ole Miss, not on there, which I wonder if they think
Yeah.
NCAA issues make them too sketchy to even put up a number for them so people could bet on it. Alabama, 10.5 wins is their over-under. LSU, you know, it's funny, Tennessee, year in, year out, they always get the team from the West that's hot. You always
Yeah.
get Alabama, and you always get the team that's hot. So who's second in the league? LSU with
LSU.
9 wins. Auburn at 8, Florida 8, Georgia 8, Tennessee 7.5. Then you look over, you got other coaches in the hot seat over here. Well, Bielema, they're very happy with him at Arkansas, even though he's not done as much as Butch Jones, but he's at 7. Sumlin, hot seat, he's at 7. Missouri up to 6.5 over Kentucky, which I think is interesting. And then you got Mississippi State and South Carolina. Anything stand out to you there as right or wrong that you would agree with or disagree with?
I don't know about right or wrong, but you're lucky that you've got 3 of the last 4 teams are on your schedule. If this means anything, then you've got South Carolina, Kentucky, and Missouri
And
on
you would
your
figure
schedule.
Vandy would be in that too.
Of course, then here's the sad thing: is you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 of the best teams are on your schedule as well. So it kind of balances
I
out.
would go over on Georgia, and I would look strong at under on Missouri.
Missouri's the one that catches my eye.
Yeah,
I would
those
definitely.
two.
I'd go under definitely on that one.
Yeah.
Okay. The interesting thing about all of those is how much do they just? I mean, they all factor into each other. You would think,
Right.
Yeah.
if they're looking at them, if they're looking at it in such a way that they're pouring their real heart and minds into it. If they're just throwing out numbers to get people to throw a few bets down, because they don't make a ton of cash off the
Right.
over-unders. I've been out to Vegas and did the interview with the website I used to run, talked to some sports book guys out there, and they said, well, the over-unders aren't, that's not where we make our huge dollars. So we kind of throw that out there to get people talking, which is why it's out in May. But anyway, but if it is where they took this into consideration that, okay, we think this team will beat this team, then obviously they think Alabama, LSU, Florida, and Georgia will all beat Tennessee as part of that mix.
Yeah, they do.
And I think 4-4 in the SEC is probably in the
About
ballpark.
right.
I would think that is the number.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're also
Foreign.
projecting a very tight East Division race, aren't they?
Very much so. Yeah, with Florida and Georgia both tied there. I'm surprised you say over with Georgia.
Well, I think it's the Kirby Smart factor. I think year 2 they're going to be better. I like the talent there. And 8 wins, I mean, is 8 a push? I think that's still a pretty good number. But I like Georgia to be able. I think they'll be favored to win the East.
Yes.
I
So
do too, but the Kirby Smart factor is why I wouldn't feel comfortable going there because I don't know how good a coach he is yet.
well, I'm just thinking year 2 there's going to be some improvement there. You know, you always hear you make the most improvement from game 1 to game 2. I'm applying that to the season.
To the coach.
Yeah.
All right. Very good. When we come back, is Butch Jones doomed? That's the word that one writer used in putting him on another hot seat list that we'll run through. But also, what are the realistic expectations for Tennessee football over the course of a decade? We'll show you what history says. Come on back.